Hey listeners, we're nearing the end of our 15th anniversary fundraising campaign, and we need your help to meet our goal. This campaign offers you a chance to win a unique food and music experience in one of the most exciting cities in America. Here's how it works. Donate to HRN and you'll be entered to win dinner for two and 2 tickets to a concert in one of 8 amazing cities: New York, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Nashville, Las Vegas, Charleston, Ardmore, Pennsylvania, and Asheville. All donations support our work educating food system storytellers. And when you donate, you can choose one of those cities and you'll be entered to win dinner and 2 tickets to a show. So help us reach our goal and enter to win dinner and a show in the city of your choice. Check out heritageradionetwork.org/15 to donate and enter to win today. That's heritageradionetwork.org/15. Thank you.
You're listening to Heritage Radio Network. Heritage Radio Network is food radio supported by you. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org.
This episode is brought to you by 818 Tequila. Delicious and smooth tequila made in harmony with the earth. 818 Tequila, imported by 818 Spirits, Manhasset, New York. 40% alcohol by volume. Drink responsibly.
This episode is brought to you by Visit Ithaca, home of New York's craft cider. I love New York. Plan your getaway at visitithaca.com.
Welcome to The Grape Nation, your weekly wine journey. Our guest is Kilolo Strobert. We'll talk to Kilolo about all things fermented grapes. We'll taste a sparkler made from Nebbiolo from the Piedmont region for our weekly wine sip. I'm your host, Sam Ben-Ruby. Stay with us for The Grape Nation on the Heritage Radio Network. We bring wine to the people. Brooklyn's own Kilolo Strobert is a true Crown Heights affair. After attending high school on the Upper West Side, culinary school at Johnson & Wales, her love of wine, hospitality, helping friends with wine pairings and recos solidly pushed her into the wine world. She has worked all aspects of the business, including retail at Morel, Ledoux's, Fresh Direct, the Hotel Parker Meridian, Zagat, an importing company, and more. 18 years ago, she took a job at a wine store in Prospect Park. She is now the owner of that same store, or at least I think so. Fermented grapes. Kilolo is committed to wines that are natural, highlights diversification, globalization, women, and the BIPOC winemaking community. Welcome to the Grape Nation, Kilolo.
Thank you.
All right, we're talking to Kilolo. We are at the Heritage Radio Network studios at Roberta's Pizza in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Brooklyn in the house today,
I mean,
right?
in the serious house.
All right, Kilolo. You have a great story, and I think it should be shared with everyone. So I think to frame this interview, because there's a lot of things I want to talk to you about, I want you to take me through that journey in life and wine that really not got you to Brooklyn, but kept you in Brooklyn, where you now have this, terrific store, Fermented Grapes. But give me the how did we get there part.
Okay. It's so funny when people ask you, like, where do you start?
Right.
So I guess I start with my parents weren't big drinkers.
We're not?
No.
Okay.
My father was a pescatarian, what we call a vegetarian then. Didn't drink, didn't smoke, didn't curse. And my mom did all those things, but was not a big drinker. She's probably going to kill me because I said that to start. But that's okay. Love you, Mom. And so but they loved to party. My father was a musician. I grew up in Brownstone, Brooklyn. So, he built a recording studio for himself in 1980. So there was always, music and fun and things happening in the house. So I was around alcohol, especially because of like my family was big and partied. Cut to which you touched on. I actually went to high school in Manhattan, a private school on the Upper West Side. And private school is very different from public school, which some people may or may not understand.
But you also crossed boroughs to go to high school.
Yeah, so I'm a Crown Heights native. Like, I grew up on Bergen Street. I rep Brooklyn hard. Straddled the Bed-Stuy Crown Heights border all the time. You took the A to Nostrand or the 2 or 3 to Kingston. Those are my stops. Technically still my stop, one of them. So it was, when you're 11 years old and 12 years old and you start traveling the city and you're able to see a lot of things, it opens up your eyes. But I had a friend whose family, and she was very into food. And she introduced me to sushi and a bunch of stuff. And then in high school, we poured at one of her mom's, I think it was her mom's 40th birthday. I had my first bottle of Clico, and we made proper martinis. We were the bartenders, and it was fantastic. And I was like, oh, what is this wine thing? Cut to being a vodka and a beer drinker. Even though I experienced champagne. In college, Johnson & Wales, that I ended up going to.
Let me just ask you a couple of questions before you get to that. You still friendly with that woman?
Yes, extremely.
Okay, and definitely one of the most influential people at that time to point you in a direction where you're at now?
Oh, she's still in food.
Okay.
I mean, we were in food in high school, I guess.
Okay.
She's one of those, she's an amazing person, Nina, who I adore to this day.
All right, so fill in a little gap for me. You go to high school in the city, and then you're going to get into going to Johnson & Wales in Rhode Island. I just want to know when and why you decided, I'm going to culinary school,
So,
I'm going to Rhode Island.
I went, after private school, I ended up at a college in upstate New York called Hartwick.
Okay.
I got kicked out after my first semester.
Any fun reason why you got kicked out?
There are many reasons why I got kicked
Okay, we'll
out.
take that.
And, people laugh at this story because it's funny. I think everyone should have a gap year.
Yes.
I don't think you should just go. And
as a dad, and now more than ever, but it always made sense.
It just makes sense. Had I had a gap year, I wouldn't have even ended up there. I would have known a lot more. But it led me to culinary school. So what ended up happening, I got kicked out. One of my good friends at the time who was going to Cornell, I said, listen, you write my appeal letter and put all this stuff in it because I'm not good at writing. So she wrote my appeal letter. I submitted it. I got back in. Then I left after a year and like a try. And during that 8-month period when I wasn't in college, I went up there because Busta Rhymes was performing on the campus.
Okay.
And one of my other friends who left, I bumped into him. And actually, he's since passed away. So, like, his influence in my life is this is, like, a turning point. It's so wild. I saw him, and he said, oh, my God, come to culinary school. What are you doing right now? And I said, I'm just working. And he's like, come to culinary school. There are all these black people there. You used to cook in the dorms. It'd be so much fun. It's in Rhode Island. And I was like, culinary school? Like, I didn't even realize you could go. So I started researching culinary schools because my mom also was like, all right, you have to start paying rent.
Right.
And I was like, what? No, there's no way I'm paying you rent. I got to get out of here. So I
That's funny.
started doing research. And at that time, CIA was not accredited. at that time. I'm pretty sure. And I wanted to go into an accredited college. And on top of that, you had to have experience in the kitchen. And I didn't have any. So I went to Johnson and Wales. And that's how I ended up there. So a Busta Rhymes concert. And my friend Rohan said, you got to come. It's so much fun. And he was such a great cook.
So
that's how I ended up there.
A couple things. How long do you spend there? And I know you did culinary and marketing.
Yeah, so
tell me what you walked out of there with.
Culinary associates. So 2 years studying culinary, and then food marketing was my bachelor's.
Very cool. Mm-hmm. Why that? Because you were
Why food marketing?
Well, you were interested in the business part.
It was. So I was looking at hospitality management. I was looking at a bunch of things, and marketing always seemed to me like fun. And it's just about positioning and how it's psychological, and it also includes advertising, it includes sales. And I wanted to be an accountant like back in the day. When I was at Hartwick, I was about to clear like
Thank
accounting.
God.
Oh, I mean,
So
it was never
bored.
going to happen.
Right.
Never. When I realized it wasn't just about numbers and it was more about rules, I was like, oh no, this is not for me. So yeah, I just was like, okay, food marketing it is. And I already had enough credits like going towards it. I could do it in less than a year. I mean, I did it in a year and one like trimester. So I was supposed to be class of 2000. I was class of 2001.
Right. No big deal.
Yeah.
All right. So you get out of there, and I mentioned in the opening a bunch of places you did. Quickly take me through, I guess the most important thing is getting out of there. What were you thinking? What was your first stop? And then there was a progression of some terrific, things that really built your career.
So I wanted to work for like Hormel or Purdue or one of those big like Mars. But at that time, in like the late 90s, early 2000s, farm to table wasn't a thing. Like if you knew about food and about healthy stuff, they were like not interested in you. On top of that, they were all about like people that were blue chip and IVs and all this stuff. And I really started to see like breaking into that in marketing specifically was almost like never going to happen. So I was on Yahoo Jobs, and I saw that Zagat was hiring for interns. So I applied for that and interviewed with like the best people, and I ended up working there after college. And that was great because it was paid internship, and then it turned into working there. And I worked there. I also, which was great about working for that company, is I was able to leave and come back. So I worked there off and on up until like 2008, right? Like
Wow.
Right before they got sold to
Infatuation?
No, Google.
Oh, Google.
Like
Right.
I would not be sitting here had
Right.
I stayed, had my father not passed away and I thought it was time for me to move to California, I would have been a Google employee. I still would be working at Google.
It's interesting how things work out.
I mean, real interesting.
All right, so Zagat's the first stop out of school.
Yeah.
Then you get a little more wine-centric.
So in 2004, I realized I wanted to be in the wine business because I'd already been going to tastings and, doing all this stuff and working in publishing and food publishing. It was really easy for me to see that there was opportunities here. But what I saw was another mountain to climb, being a Black woman and going into this all-white business. And I was like, oh man, here I go again. It's private school, you do that. College, you kind of do that. You're in publishing. It's not that bad because for Zagat, it was more diverse than probably other places. Like, you didn't feel alone because there was diversity at Zagat, and I give them credit for that.
It ain't no private school,
right? But in the company,
not perfect. Yeah,
they had editors that were Black and Asian and male and female, and you saw people coming in and out. It was all about your character. So that was a great place to start after college.
That was years and years ago. So it sounds like I'm hardly implying they did the right job, the great job, the best job, but it seems like from what you're telling me, they did an okay job.
Zagat?
As far as diversifying,
I give it to them. Whether they knew that they were doing it or not, it was
a while ago. So
this was
This they may or may not have known that they were doing it, but they did it. So
I don't think it was about. I think they were being fair about the people that they hired, which is not a practice that clearly a lot of industries practice, because you see it's like a whiteout or and that's purposeful. Like, you can't say that you haven't come across candidates that are in terms of diversity that can work for you. Like, right. That just doesn't make any sense.
Right.
No matter what industry.
Agree.
So yeah, coming out of Zagat was great, but then I knew what I was walking into with wine. So I had a huge, like, Angela Davis afro. I permed my fro. I got straight hair. I was like, all right, like, I'm gonna dial it down, like, keep it, somewhat not as boisterous, not as Brooklyn. Let's make it super corporate, basically, trying to change yourself.
So you had a play.
I had a plan.
But
but that was the plan.
But you had a play. The plan was you had a play to
just
industry.
Infiltrate. Yeah, to get in. And I was like, I know how to do this.
All right. So where do you want to go, and where do you go?
I went to Fermented Grapes because my friend lived around the corner. She said, "Oh, there's this wine store that just opened. You should go drop off your resume." So I walk into this store.
What are we talking? Like 2004?
2004.
Okay.
I walk into this store, and I was immediately mad because I made the owner. There are two owners. They happen to be a couple, lesbian couple, one of Jewish heritage and one of Black heritage.
Good mix.
Yeah, but she had a Ramon hairstyle. Like, I was like, am I interviewing with a Ramon? And then her partner had dreads, and I was like, I just permed my hair, and I'm sitting in front of these two women that obviously are who they are, and they're not conforming, and they're being their true selves. And I was so pissed, and I was like, oh
that
my
you
God.
Permed your hair?
Heck yeah. I worked hard on that afro. That afro was like 5 years in the making. It was a serious...
It shows you to be who you are, but other people are like that, but not that common then.
But that was a blessing.
Yeah.
Obviously, because now I'm the owner. But I walked in there. I ended up working for them for over a year. Zagat called, and I was like, I need to make more money, but I'm still dipping my toe in this wine stuff. So I was working 2 jobs, and then working there and working at Zagat, and then I just got burnt and started a whole other journey, but always stayed in contact with them. And
what was the journey?
It was cool. I mean, the journey was my father passed away, and I was like, okay, I've never wanted to leave New York in like a real way. Where would I go? So I wanted to be up in Oregon, but that was another... I knew I would be a token up there. I was like, oh, there's no diversity up here. Like, there's no way. And I was hanging out, and I was in Willamette. This was in 2005. And I was, like, checking things out. And this was right before my father passed. And I was like, oh, my God, I would move to Oregon, but I can't. Like, I don't see how I would have any kind of support out here. There's no way, shape, or form. But I ended up in San Diego. I know. The weather.
Yeah, pretty good.
Also, one of my closest friends was from there. We met in culinary school. And he was like, I have a room for you. My roommate's moving out. And I was like, that's it. And that was after my father passed. So I went to San Diego, and then the recession happened of 2008. And
you came back?
I lasted like a while. I lasted almost 2 years out there. Oh yeah, I was like chilling. I was like, I don't want to leave.
It's a good spot to chill.
Yeah, and I could have moved to LA because I had so many friends in LA and so many connections to LA, but I was like, I'm not for LA. I'm for San Diego. I'm for Santa Barbara.
Right.
I just want the high life. Like, there's no way. And I did not like San Francisco. I was like,
They're all different.
California's humongous and super varied. So I ended up coming back to New York, and that's when I started working at Ledoux's.
Okay, so Ledoux's is still there, wonderful wine shop downtown. Mr. Ledoux, who passed away years ago, was one of the great wine guys, certainly as a retailer.
Amazing.
So you're there, but you're there for a lot of years, right?
I was there for almost 4 years.
And do you think a lot of the chops that you got in the biz learned came out of Ledoux?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
oh, most definitely. What part of the funniest part was, so when my interview at Ledoux's is a funny story too. So Andy Chernoff, he was one of the Dictators. It's like a punk band of like.
Oh really?
Yeah.
The band The Dictators?
Yeah.
Oh cool.
He did a tasting at Fermented Grapes when I worked there, and Debbie was huge. She's into music. She's into punk.
Debbie was one of the
owners,
okay.
And actually, she used to get her hair cut by one of the Ramones' wives. Like, that's how into.
I'm going
she's
on
gonna
a limb and saying Debbie.
She's gonna kill me too for saying.
But
all
I'm
this
going
stuff,
on a limb and saying Debbie was the Jewish one.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
And who this is my family. So I walk in to have my interview. I keep hitting the mic. I walk in to have my interview with Jean-Luc, but I end up interviewing with his GM. And Andy is like in the store picking wines, and we look at each other, and I'm like,
I know you.
Yeah, like, what are you doing here? He's like, what are you doing here? And then we start talking, we figure out like where we know each other, and we're cracking up. And the GM of Ledoux's walks out, and he looks at us, and he's like, why do y'all know each other? Like, he's got like scratching his head. And I was like, oh yeah, blah, 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 blah. And I think it just solidified from then on. He was like, oh, well, you have the job because you know these wines. Because a lot of the wines they were selling, they sold at Fermented Grapes. So I was already familiar with a lot of their stock. And I could read wine labels. And I was talking to Andy, and he was like, well, you clearly know how to talk to people. So
I stumbled on an old video you did there.
Oh, yeah, when I was working for Golden
lot,
Vines. Yeah.
All right, so you do 4 years there. Incredible experience. I mean, you're lucky in the sense that you landed at a place that was terrific, with a great owner.
Oh, I mean...
So why you leave there after 4 years, which is a pretty good tenure?
Mm-hmm.
Where do you go?
I went to a pretty big importer. I was there for a year, and then I left there.
Did they have a specialty? Was it European, France, Italy, spread out?
Spread out.
Okay.
Did
you like that aspect of the business?
I did. It was, I would say, the last time I thought I needed to conform. So it wasn't a good match. And part of the reason why it wasn't a good match is because I was... And this is the part that's my fault. I won't go into all the other stuff that was really bad about it or even really good about it. But the good part I take away from it is that you have to stay true to yourself. You may think you're getting the best opportunity, but if you can't be you,
if you lose sight of that,
if you lose sight of you because even if you're just trying to work it out, trying to figure it out, like,
it's a good realization.
Don't give it more than 3 months. Be out.
But you stayed there a year?
I stayed
When
there.
was your realization? It wasn't as early
It
as
was
3 months.
weeks. It was 3 weeks in, I knew.
You knew?
Yes.
But you toughed it out or legged it out or whatever?
I toughed it out for many different reasons, and then there were a lot of things that came into play where I was like, ugh, like that 3 week mark I should have known.
Yeah. That's a good lesson, like you said. Be true to yourself. So, for obvious reasons, you bolt out of there. Where do you go?
After that, it was a rough, I guess, another 4 years. It was rough.
Big gap, 4 years.
Yeah. Well, when, I still don't really talk about it because it's not that it's hard for me to talk about, but I've reconciled it. I'm just kind of like, there are times in your career where you come up against obstacles. My mother's a Buddhist, so the obstacles and the karma and all that stuff.
Always a Buddhist or became a Buddhist?
Became a Buddhist when I was like 3 or 5.
Oh, so most
of my life,
growing
yeah.
up, yeah.
So the obstacles that I came across rooted in some nonsense and also just like me not knowing what I really wanted to do. It was a 3 or 4 year journey of me just working for a lot of different people. And
not necessarily in wine?
Oh, it was all in wine, but I was
what?
trying to get out. I was like, I'm out. Like, I'm
I'm
done with
or
this.
out with wine?
Oh, yeah.
Did any, one place or person
it was
sort of solidify the idea that I got to get out of here?
Oh, it was a bunch of stuff. It was me coming against, rumors and bad stuff and just, opportunities being taken away from me for
all right, so let's
just a lot of craziness.
So does that imply the fact that a lot of that, and I'm making an assumption here, but because you are a woman and a woman of color, was that part of it? Or
that was part of it, but it's more that you have to fight for yourself and have the self-confidence to continue to fight. And
first and foremost, that's your foundation.
My self-confidence at that point was shot. It was done.
You had it, but you lost it, or you're saying?
Yeah, no, I mean, it just, the gas tank was empty.
Right. It happened.
I had been fighting for so long. I was like, this is not my industry. But, I keep getting these little jobs here and there. And I'm seeing all these people do this stuff. And I'm like, all right. Like, Kilolo, help this person. Aren't you going to help this person? You're going to get your little change. And, but then I ended up working at Fresh Direct. And
so it sounds
that
like
brought me out.
I was just going to say, it sounds like you were in a funk. And something either got you out of it or you got out of it, and you got out of it and you went to Fresh Direct, which is the...
Well, I was trying to work for bigger companies, and
right.
A lot of the obstacles were people being like, no. And I don't mean like me just like applying. Like, I also mean like friends that were in these companies and they were like, no, we're not allowing you to apply. And I was like, give them my resume. And some people were like, no, because it's not a good fit for you. Like, this is not going to work for you. And sometimes that hurts to hear because you're like, this is what I want to do.
Right. It's not jive.
And I need a job.
Right.
And so there were a lot of forces pushing me into, the place that I ended up today.
All right, so let's keep moving along. So you get out of the funk, you go to Fresh Direct. You spend how much time at Fresh Direct?
Almost 4 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So a handful of places you spent, pretty good time. What happens after Fresh Direct?
I bought Fermented Grapes.
Okay, so we're current.
We're current.
So Fresh Direct was the last job you had before.
Yeah,
okay.
And Fresh Direct was the right place for me to be.
Right. That worked out to be a good transition. We talked about this. It came up a couple times. I'm curious if, any of the equity we hope for in the industry, have you seen things getting better? Are we in a better place today? Is it BS? We just putting a Band-Aid over it? Pandemic have any effect? Because let me frame that.
No.
You've been
go ahead.
But no, you've been You've been in the business 2 decades.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I preface the question by saying you're a woman.
Yeah.
You're a woman of color.
Yeah.
And the industry doesn't have a great reputation for any of that.
No.
So I'm just curious today, how you feel. Now, you may have gotten yourself out of it a little by being your own business person, but, getting there, just give me some thoughts.
Well, as a small business owner, which I'm still reconciling the fact that I own a store. It's still very odd to me. I still feel like an employee. It's almost a year, but I'm still like,
That's funny.
It takes a while. I'll let y'all know when it will really hit me over the head that I'm the boss. But I also have just been the boss in so many places. I think that's one of my friends brought that up. They're like, well, you've always been the boss, so that's why you don't feel it.
Well, that's because you're a boss.
Right. I just feel like we are at a time in history where the forces of, I won't say evil, but just, we don't know when the hourglass is going to be flipped. Like, you can't see when that's going to happen. Right. But as a Black person who understands Black history, it's going to flip. I just don't know how bad it's going to get. And we're seeing it's not done getting bad. You know, right. It's just not. And
that doesn't sound overly hopeful.
Well, no, the hope is that it's going to flip.
No, I get that, but we're still away from that.
We got to get, I think we're a bit away from it, but the lining that I have, the silver lining, the light that I see at the end of the tunnel is this. When the pandemic first happened and everyone was at home, it brought together more community. But it also brought together communities that are fighting for the quote unquote wrong side too. And that's where I have the hope. I didn't know about all of these people of color in the business. It's still none of us. It's still like zero. But the fact that there's 20 in Atlanta, there's 30 in New York, when I was coming up, I knew of 5 of us for a really long time, especially, I'm just talking about Black women. Black men, forget about it. I knew maybe like 4.
Were there less Black men, as far as you could see, than women?
Yes, which is kind of weird, but that's what I was seeing.
You're probably accurate.
But I saw a lot more women of color, but it's not a lot.
Right.
Like, say we went to one of those big tastings, like say the old school Martin Scott tasting that was at, R.B. Fisher in
right.
Lincoln Center.
Right.
I would walk in there would be me, Beth, Bay, who's at 67, Dottie. I would see her in there sometimes.
Dottie and John? Dottie?
Yep. And there was one other woman who I never knew her name. She was tall, statuesque.
Lee Campbell?
No, not Lee.
Not Lee.
I never saw Lee at tastings. I heard of Lee because Lee is still a person that everyone knew of. But I didn't really.
She's been at it for a while.
Yeah,
early on.
I'm 44 years old. She's one of those people. I can name a couple of people that when I got in, I was like, I've heard about you, I've heard about you, and I've heard about you. So, but she was never at that. But I would see consistently about 5 people where I was like, all right, it's us.
It's nothing.
Nothing.
You know what?
Especially in New York.
Probably pretty close to damn accurate in reality. It's not like you missed anyone. That was pretty much it.
Yeah.
So the follow-up to that question is the change. Are there a few more faces? Not really. We're sort of in the same place.
No, there are a ton more faces.
Okay.
Which is fantastic. The question is, how is, I'm seeing it grow. We're all seeing it grow. So it doesn't look as fast as it actually is happening. And that's what social media is doing. Like, all of a sudden, you'll get 5 more people that are following you, and you're like, oh, you're a student, you're doing WSET, or oh, you're in this side of the business. I didn't know about
So-
you.
It's funny you bring social media up because it was on my list to discuss because, social media is just, part of my life fabric and all that. And as a small business owner and, a personality, it's a big deal, which you just alluded to.
Yeah.
So social media is important to you for various reasons. Discovery,
Right.
promoting your business,
Totally, which I haven't
promoting you.
Yeah, I mean, which we're about to go real ham on it starting in July because I've been so busy trying to build certain other aspects of the business. Like, the store is the heart of the business, so I've let social suffer. But now I'm caught up enough where I'm like, okay, now it's time to hit.
All right, so let's leave that when we talk about the store. I want to talk about
Okay.
that. It's not easy for me to move away from social issues, but I want to touch on an issue that is, important and interesting to me, important and interesting to you.
Yeah.
And then it's that category of natural wines,
Okay.
which I hate, which you're a big proponent of.
No, wait. I'm not a big proponent of natural wine.
You don't like natural wines?
I love natural wine.
That's an opponent. Proponent is pro.
No. Oh, okay.
Wait, what's the right
Ask
word?
me the question again.
You and I are believers in natural wine, even though it's it's a broad category.
Yeah.
I think you represent it well in the store. I think you go even deeper, as I mentioned in the intro, with specific winemakers,
Yeah.
women, color,
All right, so this is the thing. I bought this store. I bought the store not only because of my ties to the store,
Right.
but it's in a great location.
Right.
And what Debbie and Jan did in terms of foundation has been being proponents of natural wine.
Right.
So I would be
Early on, too.
early.
Yeah.
But Ledoux's was like that too.
Yes.
But he wasn't about pushing it.
But a
in
lot
that
of the
way.
wines he sold, the winemakers were natural without talking about being organic. They did that forever.
And that was Debbie and Jan.
yeah.
But they started to show more about by having tags saying organic or biodynamic, which I continue. But also, my goal is to dial down some of that because I'm close to the park. But I want to stay about 65% natural organic, but that's easy.
So-
they were more like 80.
Right. You want to reflect the market, too.
Yeah, because I mean, I worked at a grocery store for a reason. Like, I get how people and how my people and meaning my family who's not in the wine business, how they shop, how they interact with, spirits
Right.
and alcoholic beverages.
Right. You have to take all the experiences and everything.
But I'm also in Brooklyn, so I got to be natural too.
Yeah. Well, I like the fact that you could be a bunch of things and not one thing. We have to take a quick break.
Okay.
We're talking to Kilolo Strobert. When we come back, I want to talk specifically about your store and your vision,
Yeah.
and things you're doing, things you have planned for the future.
We can talk about more natural wine too.
Yeah, well, that'll work its way in. You're listening to The Grape Nation on the Heritage Radio Network. We'll be right back.
I'm Chava Periban, co-host of Agave Road Trip on HRN, here to talk about 818 Tequila. 818 creates their tequila using traditional methods at a family-owned and operated distillery in Jalisco, Mexico. From the blue agave they grow to their recycled glass bottle, 818 emphasizes the earth's importance in all they do. Their distillery runs on biomass and solar power, which means they don't rely as much on fossil fuels and are able to reduce their carbon footprint. Their labels, corks, and boxes are all certified by the Forest Stewardship Council as coming from sustainably managed forests. 818 is a proud member of 1% for the Planet, through which they support HRN as well as Sacred, my organization in Jalisco, where together we transform agave byproducts and water waste into adobe bricks that are donated to local infrastructure projects, like a local library in Zapotitlan de Vadillo. Visit drink818.com to learn more about their sustainability efforts and find 818 near you. 818 has been part of so many magical nights for me, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. 818 Tequila, imported by 818 Spirits, Manhasset, New York. 40% alcohol by volume. Drink responsibly.
This episode is brought to you by Visit Ithaca, helping you to plan your next getaway. Ithaca has waterfalls and wineries, art and theater, outdoor recreation, and family fun. The area is famous for its glacier-carved gorges, co-op-run businesses, and cultural influences from Cornell University and Ithaca College. Plus, you can't beat the beauty of Cayuga Lake, the largest of the Finger Lakes. Beyond 150 waterfalls and some of the region's best hiking trails, Ithaca is cider. The area is well known for its local cideries, which are leading the way in America's cider revival. You can hear from the region's cider makers directly on HRN series Hardcore. There's something really special about Ithaca's climate for cultivating delicious apples steeped in history and terroir. Let Visit Ithaca help you plan your next trip to this hub of food, drink, culture, and agritourism. Home of New York's craft cider, I love New York. Get started at visitithaca.com.
Okay, we're back. We're back with my guest, Kilolo Strobert. Kilolo is the proprietor of Fermented Grapes in Brooklyn. And I want to talk to you about the store now.
Cool.
All right. I caught you saying in a quote, doing some research, that this is not your average wine and spirit shop. What does that mean? I think, I'll tell you what I think it means. It's a reflection of you.
Yeah.
But tell me what that, what are you doing?
Okay, so for instance, when you walk into the store, actually any store that I've ever worked in, music has been a part of me and will always be a part of me.
I love that. So it's going on.
There's always music going on, but the music that I like to keep it very varied. Like you will hear Bach play after the Beastie Boys, play after Biggie, and then it'll flow into Etta, and then all of a sudden, maybe a Dictator song will come on.
Diverse and eclectic.
Exactly.
A curiosity, were the previous owners into the music thing, or that's an imprint of
1000%.
yours? Okay. So you walk in and there was those music going on.
Oh, yeah.
You changed the playlist to your playlist.
I kept their speakers and their subwoofer.
Okay. All right. But you put in your own mixtapes.
Yeah. I mean, I make Spotify playlists, and then also when we get up and running in another way, because we have plans for a lot of things pushing into the next year and a half, 2 years. We have these plans. Hopefully I'll be able to afford my friend Charlie, who does the playlist at Charlie Bird and all of those restaurants. He was working there. His name is Audio Culture on Instagram. We went to Johnson & Wales together. So
cool.
I was like, I'll be able to afford one of your playlists eventually. So it's important to me.
I got to hook you up with one of my sons, Willie Soul, who's a DJ. He's programming the music of Flippers at Rockefeller Center.
Oh,
right now.
shoot. That's
he
awesome.
He knows this stuff, plays all over Brooklyn. But that's a separate thing. All right. So I said to you, not your average wine shop. First thing you said is you walk in, music. Super cool. Sets the tone and environment.
1000%.
What else?
We say hello.
Okay.
Hello's on the door.
Welcome to Moe's. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's on because I'm a New Yorker. I'm native, but I'm about that New York minute.
Right.
So I say this. I've been saying this for years. Even a 4-year-old has an agenda. They have a calendar. They have their play dates. They have their study time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I want to greet you. And I say, if you have any questions, let me know. Because either you do or you don't.
So there's a big intimidation factor in wine.
Yeah, we try to knock that out.
With Psalms and with fancy wine stores. So that's definitely part of, So by kind of breaking the barrier down, saying, hey, how are you? Can I help you?
Hello.
All right, so personalized service. Mm-hmm. Are you on premise most of the time?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm sitting in the window.
That's funny. So tell me, all right, so now you walk in, you feel good, there's some good tunes playing. What am I walking around looking at?
So right now you're walking around looking at about 300 different wines.
Okay.
I can go up to about 700, maybe 800 if I push it.
So you have that option, and at some point, that you'll get to 700, but
Oh,
you'll
I'm-
rotate and grow.
I'm gonna get to 700.
Okay. Okay.
I have dreams.
So how does that break down? I mean, a lot of people break it down by color, white, red, by region, not Napa, California,
Yeah.
Bordeaux, Burgundy. How do you...
So my goal, and I'm still working on it in terms of like how it's shaping, because we've only been back open 3 months. So I have to keep reminding myself, Kilolo, it's your startup.
This
Get a
is
grip.
all, you got to feel your way around.
I got to feel my way around.
And just because you do something doesn't mean that's it. You got to
Exactly.
tweak it.
Exactly. So the first sections you come across on the white wine side. So it's basically sides, red and white. But the first 2 sections on the white side, on the left side of the store, are rosé and orange. Then it flows into varietal specific. So, and I picked 5. So Chardonnay, Sauvignon Blanc, Riesling, Chenin, and
You could...
of course I'm going to blank on the 5th because that's the way life goes.
Oh,
It's not no,
Chablis?
no, sorry. I only had Chablis Chardonnay.
Oh,
I only had, it's all good. I only have 4 actually, because I hadn't decided what I want the 5th to be. Because I'm also still feeling out the neighborhood, and with the way wine is changing, and with the way availability is, I think I'm going to make that 5th section Gruner. Because I'm tasting some fire Gruners recently, and
I agree.
It's just, I'm like, okay, Gruner, you got it. Like,
I agree.
and Sauvignon Blanc's been the new Pinot Grigio as far as I'm
I
concerned.
just read an article.
So, I mean, I've been saying that for a while now, just because of the way trends have been. But if Sancerre keeps creeping up into that $40, it's starting into that 35, 33, 35 minimum price range. That may kick Sauvignon Blanc out, but New Zealand still has a stronghold, so I don't think it will.
Yeah. So the store is obvious and easy to navigate.
Yeah,
you
and
walk in and you see.
You see that, and then it flows into region specific.
Okay.
Because I do like to have, then there's Burgundy and there's domestic whites and, and
So
then reds are the same way.
So how do you curate that? I mean, take Burgundy, which is tricky, expensive, not available. You want to look for the best values. You want to look for makers. I mean, how do you curate stuff? Are you tasting stuff all the time?
Yes.
It's past knowledge that you want to bring this in.
All of the above.
And you can't have everything you want. Like you said, you can almost double to go to 700 and you'll get there. But
you can. You can't have everything you want, but eventually you can touch everything that you want.
Good point.
Because that's the beauty of retail. Like, it's not, the world is your oyster.
Right. And you also said that retail was your best fit in life, job-wise.
When did I say that? I don't remember saying
I
that.
picked it up somewhere.
Oh,
Do
okay.
you think now that you're doing this, when we just talked about everything you did, you feel good and you're happy, like you're charged doing this?
Yeah, I mean, I keep telling people, I'm like, I'm in it. Like, there are good days, there are bad days, but I figured it out. Being an entrepreneur, being a small business owner means that you're consistently overwhelmed. So as long as you're okay with that, you're good.
You got to be cut for that. Otherwise,
Oh, yeah.
And the other thing is, if all that stuff's not going on, then maybe things aren't going well. 'Cause
Exactly.
That noise is good noise.
It's good noise.
in a sense.
But you have to be able to, once that bell goes off, it's okay. You just say, all right, let's hit it. Hit it.
So back to my question. So you say you walk in and there's an orange wine section, a rosé section. You have a section of white wines. How do you select those wines? Let me throw the answer out. Is it what you think your market wants and what you think is good? Are those the two major things?
So I'm all about well-balanced wines.
So there's a style that's important
Yes.
to you. Okay.
And I mean, like, it can be the craziest thing you've ever experienced in your life. It could smell like raisins and taste like leather. But as long as it makes sense, I'm about it. So, I like wines to tell a story. but I don't want the story to feel disjointed, like it's been cut badly, like, you know, the editor did a bad job. I want wines to have a follow through and a flow.
So isn't there two stories? There's the story of the wine that you're describing, a follow through and a flow. And then there's also the winemaker or the place, which could be interesting or important, right? I mean,
Totally.
Is that important to you too?
I mean, it's not as important as what's in the bottle, because
That's
what's in
not
the
the
bottle.
first thing, yeah.
No, I care about what's in
You
the
go
bottle.
backwards and then you find out what the story is.
Yeah, like and to me, the story is what gives me the validation that I'm picking right. But I also don't buy for myself.
You can't.
50% of I'm in retail. Okay, I'm trying to sell to everybody. I
Right.
want you coming in. I
You
want you
wanna
to
be
buy
s-
something.
Right.
So if I fill the store with just me, I'm not doing my job.
Nobody can do that. You'll
People
go out
do
of-
it. Oh, I've been in
you
stores
go out
where
of
they do
business.
it.
You can't open a clothing store with just stuff you like. You have to reflect the market. And wine is even trickier.
Right, but well, if you're following the trends and you listen to what people say and what they ask you for, you should be pretty good. You have to pay attention, you know?
All right. So I want to ask you a bunch of things. Okay?
I'm ready.
We talked about natural wines. Didn't get into it too deeply. Just wanted to broach it. But you have definitely made a commitment in the store where you represent natural wines, organic,
1000%.
biodynamic.
Yes.
But also there's an eye towards women winemakers, BIPOC winemakers, and all of that. You have to seek that out, right?
Yeah. It's
mean,
rough.
It is rough.
I'm gonna tell
to
you why.
represent it, you have to make the effort to look
I'm
for
gonna tell
it.
you why it's rough. Just because you black doesn't mean I'm putting you on the list. Just because you're a female winemaker doesn't mean I'm putting you on the list. I don't give. Do people curse on this podcast? Because I was listening, no one curses, and I curse like a sailor.
People don't naturally curse.
Oh, I naturally curse.
Like,
so I'm like,
Me too, but I don't have to on the podcast. And a bunch of shows I did, and people were like, yelling at me, like, "Why are you cursing?"
Oh my.
So,
okay, because I was about to throw some S-bombs.
I worked with Howard Stern for 30 years.
Who I can't wait to meet one day. I tell you.
All right, so just because you're black, just because you're a woman, you ain't necessarily getting on the wine list. So
Hell
where do you take it
no.
from there?
You taste.
Back to what you said.
You taste. You have to taste. And then also you have to talk to your community. You have to ask your friends. You have to look at other things that are going on. Like right now, I have about 10, I have a lot more women winemakers on the shelf than I have BIPOC. But part of that is because I'm still opening accounts with the importers that bring them in, and it's all over the damn place.
You're not there yet. You're looking to do it. It's just you're a new store.
I have a list of about 60 or 70. No, let's say 50 I need to taste. 10 more I'm ready to put on the shelf. But, I'm not taking my time, but I'm definitely trying to. I'm now shopping for the fall. Summer's over already. I'm
Right,
let's do this.
That's the way the business runs.
Yeah.
All right.
Season ahead.
Couple of questions, then I want to do our wine list.
Okay.
Give me, when I ask you this question, give me one or two things. Wines, winemakers, or regions that are exciting you right now.
Oh, I hate questions like this.
I
And
know.
Everyone says this.
That's why I waited towards the end, and I'm only asking for one. And it doesn't have to be the right answer. It's one of the few that's rolling through your head.
I know you say that every time. I've been very much studying this podcast before I came on.
Then answer the damn question.
I mean, he said damn. Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Damn, that's light.
It's totally light, but we from New York. We got to say something.
Fuck that shit. Now go answer the question.
Okay. So, what I brought today, is that cheating?
No, we're going to taste it and evaluate it.
Okay, so it's not a region that I'm excited about. It's a winery that I'm excited about. And the reason why is because I want to buy everything that I taste. And that is very rare. I don't like it when I walk in a store and they have 7 wines of the same producer. To me, that means that you're not really evaluating you're not evaluating the situation properly. Right. This winemaker is, I mean, the Barolo I have on the shelf, the Longue I have on the shelf, I've tasted the whites, I've tasted more of the reds. I am in love. And it's annoying because I'm like, I can't take it all.
Tell me we're going to talk more about it towards the end of the show during the weekly wine sip. But just to get it out for the record, tell me the name of the wine.
Guida Bono is the winery.
Guida Bono, and it's a sparkler. And
this one is the sparkling, but they have Barolo, they have Longue Nebbiolo.
It's a sparkler of Nebbiolo, which is, the traditional Piedmont grape. All right, so we'll get to that in a second. The second thing I wanted to ask you is, because I could sit here and talk to you about orange wine for 2 hours, but I don't even want to go there. But here's the second thing.
I mean, why not?
Let's take the seasons. You're the perfect person to ask this question to.
Okay.
I want to put together a case of wines for the next few weeks, 4th of July, summer.
Yeah.
I want a varied case that reflects the time of the year. It could be multiples of the same wine.
Okay.
So I don't need 12 different SKUs. You can give me regions, you can give me maker, whatever. What should I be drinking? What's that case? And I think a lot of what you said, would go in there.
All right. So this is how I sell. I'm real lucky because I've been tasting wine for 20 years and I'm not that good at remembering certain things. But what I do remember well are labels and big name things that are like someone came in the other day and said, I want Apothic. I'm not going to sell Apothic. It's not the store I am. I've had Apothic a million times. I know what it's like. I said, oh, you need this Nittenhouse Anita Austrian red blend. It has the fruit. It has the structure. It's not going to be as ripe, but it's like 75% towards getting to where Apothic is. You need that. And a screw cap. That's how I sell. So I would ask you a question. If you come to me and you say you want a mixed case, July 4th, first thing I say to you is, okay, do you have a favorite grape?
Right, and the guy could be 80% whites. Could be, I just want reds.
And I can do that too. That's not an issue. I don't have an issue with that.
You smack my ass on that question because it's the answer that's really the right answer. I always say this, that you have to seek out a store, a sommelier, that you can express your interests where they're genuinely into filling what you like and want. By you telling them, by you being inquisitive and all of that.
And if you want my opinion, because it happens every day.
But they're going in there to hope for your opinion. But
this happens every day. And this is why I say retailers are more somms than somms. And I get flack for this shit. And I don't really care.
I agree.
Because a somm is dealing with a set menu.
I agree.
And I have to deal with Ethiopian food, Bangladeshi food, pizza, bodega sandwiches, chopped cheese. You freaking name it.
Most people don't know what chopped cheese is, but go ahead.
Well, I'm just saying, like, people come in, it's New York, Thai, Japanese. I want a red wine with my sushi. Okay, I got that for you. Like, this is my job all day. So when I'm building cases for people, I try to get in their head within 30 seconds. And a lot of people are like, I drink water. I said, okay, so you don't have a favorite juice? Is it apple juice? Is it pineapple juice? Is it grape juice? Oh, you don't drink juice? Have you ever drank soda? Have you ever imbibed soda? Sprite, 7-Up, because they taste different.
They do.
Ginger ale, like Pepsi or Coke,
those
RC,
tip you off to taste and all
it
that.
tips me off to where what their palate enjoys. And then I build a case from there with this in mind that other people are going to be there too. So I'm trying to go middle of the road with some excitement.
Right. So the lesson there is, and I agree with you, is that the question I asked was answered properly in the sense that I'm not going to give you 6 or 7 choices of wines. I'm going to pry into what's important to you, what you like, and I'm going to help you get a case of wine that matches your taste, where you want to go, what you like, and all that. And that's the way our listeners should approach that.
1,000%.
There's Kilolos, I wouldn't say everywhere, but a lot of places. And those are the people that you really, want to, take advantage of.
Oh, well, thank you for saying that.
But that's why I think retail, at stores like you, neighborhood stores, are so important. All right. We're starting to run out of time. We still have a little time. I want to do a couple things. I want to subject you to our wine list because I want to get probably into some of your tastes.
I'm trying to go over an hour, guys. I'm trying.
Oh, no, you'll get there. Don't worry about it. And then I want to taste, evaluate, and have a discussion about the wine that you brought in, because you hit a home run in the sense that you did what I asked you. You brought in an interesting wine, delicious, accessible at a store like yours, fair price and all that stuff. All right, so let's start with the wine list. 5 questions. We ask all our guests the same 5 questions.
Here we go.
You're not getting anything different.
I'm prepared.
You are prepared?
Oh, well, I'm sort of prepared.
I hope you're not, because I like to be spontaneous. Don't even tell me. All right, first question. What is Kilolo drinking now? What's in your fridge? What are you tasting more of for the store? What are the seasons bringing to you? Give me a few things that, is a current tasting now thing.
Okay, so I don't drink alone. I'm single. I live at home by myself, so there's nothing in my fridge. There's tons of product in my house.
You know what I mean. So what do you...
I don't know, but I'm just prefacing.
That's interesting.
That I have rules for myself because I've been in this business a long time, and I like to keep it a little clean. So I am tasting for the store. I'm tasting every day. I taste God knows how much wine. What is interesting to me right now is I am pushing reps to give me cheap and cheerful. Because
cheap I get, we'll change that to inexpensive. What does cheerful mean?
Cheerful meaning it's stoop juice. Like you sit on your stoop and you pounding it. Like there's a
Is
wine,
that lower alcohol stuff necessarily?
No, but chillable reds. That's
chillable reds.
Chillable reds right now. That's like the theme of the summer.
Give me 1 or 2 chillable reds. Anything come to mind?
The Freddo.
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 DDO.
Coming out of it's Field Recordings, I believe. Yeah, Field Recordings, Ginny and Francois. It's $19.99 on my shelf. It's in the fridge. It's 100% Sangiovese.
That's what I'm looking for.
Kills it. It's fresh. It's bright. It is organic, but it's just yummy.
Sounds great.
I have that in the fridge. And then, funny enough, Zev, another natural importer. OG. The Bloom. It's a blend of about seven different grapes, a couple of which are white grapes. It has this. It's a beautiful, and it's just another yummy red.
So it's a blend of grapes, not necessarily a field.
It's
blend.
a red blend.
Red blend. And
A red and sorry. It could be considered a field blend because it's red and white.
What? Where's it from?
That's California too.
Oh, okay. So that's Bloom is the maker?
Yeah.
Okay. So those are good ones. I neglected to tell people that I post everyone's answers on our social media because they love to get good recos. And so far, those are good. Second question is the goofiest.
I love goofy.
Favorite wine and food pairing. Not what you think is a good wine and food pairing.
Not what I think?
What you like.
Oh.
Like you could say oysters and champagne or no. What's a good? What do you like? Obviously, you're not going to eat every week, month, whatever. But what kills?
So back in the day, and if you dig deep enough, you'll find it. I started this blog called Champagne and French Fries.
See, champagne and fried foods are off the charts.
But champagne and French fries.
I'm with you.
So I'm OG in it. I'm out
so
myself.
Your answer
and you can
is
see the
champagne and French fries.
Yeah, you could see the 2 posts. One was about like Trader Joe's Gyoza or something. I don't even remember. I haven't seen it in forever. But that was like, I'm going to stick with that. That is the answer.
So 3 foods that I order
and then if you add mussels to it, because mussels and fried. Moules frites is my favorite thing to eat besides chicken salad.
With like a white wine sauce mostly?
Yes.
Okay. So 3 things I order well done. French fries, chicken wings, and pizza. Because I like a crispy French fry. I love it with champagne. So we're going to put down champagne and French fries.
Yes.
All right. Of late, you've been consumed with the store. You're busy and all of that. But I want you to tell me favorite wine restaurant and or bar. A place that you recognize when you walk in. The vibe is nice. The people know their stuff. The selection is good. And I always say this, by naming something, you're not leaving anyone out, nor is that your number one choice. It's just a suggestion.
Oh, I don't care about leaving people out.
It's a suggestion of what you think is a good wine, Tell me what comes to mind.
A good wine.
Good wine, restaurant, and or bar.
All right, so this is very predictable, but I'm gonna name 3 to shake it up. Is that okay?
Yeah, but don't preface it by it's predictable. These are your answers.
I'm just saying.
I'm just saying,
I don't
too.
care that it's predictable. I'm prefacing predictable
Go
because I
ahead
want
already.
people to know
Go
I'm with
ahead
it.
already. You're wasting time.
Contento.
Yes, our dear friend Yannick, which I want to brush on towards the end.
But
Go
it's
ahead.
not just Yannick. Mara.
Mara is wonderful, and I always forget that. And
Everyone forgets, but I'm shouting Mara out. What up, boo? How you doing? That's one of my BFFs.
So Contento is fits that box
but
perfectly.
the food is also amazing. Oscar killing it. Like the up
like a
there.
Peruvian fusion.
I can't. I lick the plate. It's redunk up there.
All right.
And I'm from Brooklyn, and I own a store in Brooklyn. I go up to Harlem.
So Contento is one.
Contento
Continue,
is one.
Please.
Leland.
Where's that?
See,
this is discovery. This is why we do this.
Leland on Dean and Underhill. Randy and oh my God, his wife. I'm blinking on her name because we haven't formally been introduced yet.
Leland, Leland.
Yes, Leland eating and drinking. They're so because I'm on Vanderbilt. So I'm at Leland, I'm at Lalu,
Joe Campanella.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all over the damn place.
So we're doing Contento, Leland. You said you had a few, 3.
There's one I know is the bomb. I still haven't made up there.
Who?
Clay.
Clay up
Another
in
Harlem.
Is that Gabriella?
Yes.
Okay.
And she wants to put me in a headlock, and she should, because my butt still hadn't been
All right,
up
so
there.
get your ass up there.
I gotta get my
Maybe
ass
I'll
up
meet
there.
you there.
Yo, let's go. I was just about to say,
I'll
let's
meet you
go.
there. Let's do that.
Oh my God, excited.
I'll get you out on a weeknight or something when it's nice and quiet and
Yes.
we could sit with Gabrielle.
I'm about that.
All right, so those 3 places, I will post them. All right, 4th question. Here's the question. Favorite all-time wine. Now, let me go backwards. I always say I'm the most redundant guy, so I'm redundant about saying I'm the most redundant guy being redundant. But that's a whole
Just
different
like me
story.
saying predictable.
Right. So, at least you don't say absolutely. So, when I started the show, I wanted to find out the rarest, most expensive wine you ever drank. I don't give a crap about that anymore. I want to know, you and I discussed your journey, a 20-year journey, to really having your hand in running this and owning this store. I want to know the wines, 1, 2, whatever, that woke you up, influenced you, changed the way you thought about wine, gateway wine. Was it at Ledoux? Was it at Johnson? What's a wine that was important to you?
All right, so this is a multi-layered answer. First one is Clicquot.
Right, and you discussed why. That was like a gateway or an eye-opener.
Yeah, and now it's such a big thing. I tasted it recently, and I was like, oh, this is not it's not the Clicquot of my youth, unfortunately.
I get that.
So Clicquot to start.
Good
The
one.
second one is what led me into wanting to go into the wine business, but that's not the answer to your question, really. Fat Bastard Shiraz, coming out of the Languedoc. I was in culinary school.
Where did you drink that? At culinary school, right?
I was making a red sauce. I was getting my food marketing bachelor's, and I was at home, and I wanted to add some red wine to my sauce. And I went into this wine store, and he was like, "Go get the Fat Bastard." And I was like, "What?" And that
I
started me
know the
drinking
wine, I know the label, it's fun. I'm not sure I had it, but is that a good representation of a wine for a decent price, or it's just a crappy, cheap wine?
It's changed, and I haven't had it in a long time.
But what was it before it changed?
It was 100% Shiraz coming out of the Languedoc.
And decent for the money?
It was fantastic.
Oh, okay.
It made me like...
And you're saying it may still be that or maybe not?
It may or maybe not.
Okay.
I haven't tried it in 6 years.
All right, Clicquot, fat bastard. You got another one?
So, Ledoux's wines. This is a cool story. Marty Gold, who used to be half of the importing company Martin Scott.
Oh, okay.
He started selling off some of his cellar. So Jean-Luc got the chance to get it on consignment. And there were all these wines that had eroded labels.
Did he have a skew like Burgundy, French, or everything?
It was a lot of Burgundy.
Okay.
Like a shit ton of Burgundy.
Okay.
A treasure trove
All
of
right.
Burgundy.
That's fun.
And we called it the house wine.
Really?
Yeah. And when people would come that we loved or just hanging out in the store, Jean-Luc would say, go get the house wine. And we would jump up and down like, yes!
That's great.
And I will say this, Domaine Laflave, we had so many of those bottles.
All different
vintages.
and different
All different vineyards.
Wow.
I can't tell you how much of an education that was.
I was going to say, you were lucky to be exposed to that.
And we it went on for years. We
Wow.
yeah.
It wasn't like a 1 week thing.
No, this was like a full maybe year and a half.
Very, very cool.
Because we lucked out. We worked with such a great man, but he also, we were such a good team. It was Jason Cook, Mara, Yannick.
Yannick was there when you were there.
Yannick
right?
started there, and the whole time I was working there, he worked there too. So, it was all of these professionals, and all of us were friends.
Yeah, that's some crew.
So
Mara goes back to Ledoux with you and Yannick?
Yeah. When
Okay.
Yannick started Wheeling Forward,
Well,
we
no,
all
don't.
worked there.
I want to talk to you about that
sorry.
at the end of the show.
I'm jumping.
All right, so those are your favorite all-time wines. All right, last question, and then we're going to taste our wines, but I have a question before that. Last question, and I don't want to put the pressure on you. I've been doing this show 5 years, plus. Cinco years. We've done 300 plus episodes, 250 on Heritage. We go on the road to Charleston, Washington State, wherever. All right. So I'm actually going to say that I can't think of anybody better than you in all the years to answer this last and fifth question. Okay?
Okay.
And here's the question. I asked my guests to recommend to me the best wine around 15, 20, 22 bucks. I always say my kids are in their mid-late 20s. They can't buy crappy supermarket wine, but they can't walk into a dinner or give a gift for 40, 50 bucks.
Yeah.
How do you wow at 19, 20, 21, 22? I need a red suggestion. I need a white suggestion. You can give me a region. You can give me a maker, whatever. Varietal.
So, the red is once again this $17.99 Langhe Nebbiolo Guida Bono. I didn't bring that, but
so the sparkler that we're drinking, the maker Guida Bono,
Yes.
makes a red.
Langhe Nebbiolo.
Langhe Nebbiolo. Love Langhe. Love the region. Love Piedmont Nebbiolo. And it falls.
$17.99.
Say no more. That's my red.
Or the Odoardi Savuto.
Spell it.
Oh God, really? Odoardi. It used to be called a Savuto, so now it's called 1480.
Where's it from?
Gaglioppo. I'm blanking on where's. It's another Italian.
Don't worry about it.
And what's wild is that
I will email you.
Italy's my worst area, but these two. They used to call it the Kilolo crack at a store I used to work at. Sell so much of it because it's just approachable, yummy, gaglioppo, prunes, plums,
Ooh.
dark, yum.
Interesting.
And So the Milu, sorry, 3 reds. Milu
How do
coming
you
out of
spell?
Ribera.
M-I-L-O?
Milu.
Milu.
Yep, coming out of the
this
Ribera.
is... I'm going to take a picture of that.
So coming out of the Ribera, 100% Tempranillo, 50-year-old vines.
Ooh.
$16.99.
Ooh. It's got all the stats that you want.
Yeah. Now, in terms of a white, I mean, that's almost like easier because there's so...
It always is, believe it or
Because
not.
there's so much Sauvignon Blanc, there's so much
So give me one or two
Chardonnay.
things.
I mean...
What kills in that price category?
Puech Coucou, Unoak Chardonnay.
P-U-E-C-H is the maker.
Coucou.
C-O-U-C-O-U.
C-O-U-C-U-T.
Okay.
I'll figure that out. I can't, because
Well,
I didn't even think about the white. See, now this is, you caught me off.
When
So
I
that's
post
Unoak-
it, you and I will correspond for all the correct
Unoak
spelling.
Chardonnay, $12.99.
What's it called?
$12.99.
$12.99.
It's Unoak Chardonnay.
Unoak Chardonnay. I love that.
That's fantastic.
One more.
Another white. Oh, you know what? Sauvignon Blanc. Otto's Constant Dream, $15.99. Marlborough, New Zealand.
Otto's Constant Dream.
Yeah.
Never heard of
The
it.
OCD.
See, that's why we do this.
Coming out
we
of communal.
post this. We rely on you to give us stuff like that.
So I'm talking-
Is everything you're talking about at least available at your store?
Yes.
Okay.
So we're talking about these importers. We're talking about Jan Diamore. We're talking about Baron Francois. We're talking about Zev, Jenny. We're talking about communal. I deal with Polana. I deal with both. Like, this is the other thing I do want to say. Like, I am dealing with a crap ton of importers, and that's another reason why I love being in retail, because I do get to reach out, and smaller importers, like people that just started, like Louis Kopelman. I haven't bought off of him yet, but we met at Ledoux's. He's importing only from Portuguese wines. There's John Grammer, Skin Contact. He's doing Skin Contact wines. So it's whites, reds, Skin Contact. I love that. I wish the orange category would just be Skin Contact. Like,
I know.
that, but that's going into that rabbit hole. But, it's really, I'm very lucky that I get to work with outside of who I hire, but I choose who I work with.
Right.
And I choose the importers, and I choose the sales reps because they give a shit.
Right.
And that's important to me because I give a shit.
Right. And you're not a huge store, so everything you have is important, and you calculate all those important things.
And right now a lot of things are sold out.
I know. Getting stuff.
It's driving me crazy.
I know. That's a new.
I have no Pinot Grigio in the store right now, and it's July 4th.
Story.
It's wild.
All right, so I want to talk to you about our weekly wine sip. I asked you if you would select a wine that we could taste on air that reflects your taste, the store's taste, that sort of represents, all your values.
Well, your glass is empty, so we need to.
So tell me what we're drinking as you're pouring me.
Well, I'm not close enough to the mic, so hold on.
Did we fill this bottle, you and me?
We could have. I mean, that was the goal.
So give me the stats first. Give me the exact name of the wine.
Guido Bono.
Spell Guido.
Here we go. Guido Bono.
Guido Bono is the maker.
Is the maker. Segrete Vigne.
I will write that in our social media.
That is the fantasy name.
Okay.
So the name of this bottling. It is their sparkling Nebbiolo.
Okay, so, let's not push that aside. From the Piedmont region, Nebbiolo, which is the important grape of that region, it's a sparkler.
Yes.
So,
and
it's a pale, almost
it's
white.
It's a Blanc de Noir.
Yeah. Wait, so I'm confused. As much as I know about wine, I know less than a lot of people too. Mm-hmm. Is this a white Nebbiolo, or it's just a Nebbiolo where they get it off the skins?
So it's the Nebbiolo grape.
Right.
That quickly pressed, no skin contact.
That's what it is. So it keeps the color.
So it's Blanc de Noir.
Okay. That's what Blanc de Noir is.
That's what Blanc de Noir is.
Dark
white,
grape where off the skins keep the color off.
White wine. Because look, every grape that you bite into besides like 4 different grapes, the flesh is going to run clear juice. It's the skin that gives the color.
Right. Right. All right. So is there a vintage year on this, or this is
2017.
2017. Is that what's in the market, or you pulled a
I
bottle
pulled
with a
it
little
from my
bottle
shelf.
age? So it's showing incredible for 5 years, right? I mean, it's delicious. It's probably different than if we had a 20 or a 21. It's probably a little richer, a little more evolved.
Totally.
All right. So color we talked about. It's a Blanc de Noir. So it's basically, a light straw. I mean, there's not
a light
even
straw yellow.
There's not even a tinge of, All right. So that's the color. I suck at this. I always say, I defer to you. What do you get on the nose?
Oh, on the nose? I mean, it actually has a touch of that like champagne richness. It's not a full-on brioche. It's not
A little
but
traits
it's
of all of that.
traits of
Because you can get some pretty brioche champagnes.
Yeah,
You're
this is
getting
not that full-on like toasty, nutty.
I agree, though. It's there,
But
like,
it's sitting there. It's like wanting to be there, but it's just not, which is nice because it's very light.
What else do you get?
I'm getting some pears,
As far
a
as
little
the
bit of
fruit?
apple. Not Granny Smith, but like not Macintosh, but
not that sour apple.
Yeah,
but
but just
appley.
appley.
Light on the pear, light on the apple. But
Totally.
that's what comes to mind. All right. So when we talk about, white wines, red wines, we talk about mouthfeel. They could be unctuous, they could be thin, they could be medium plus. What's the mouthfeel on this?
I mean, this is on the fuller side of lighter side of medium.
Yeah, that's what it's not rich, but
No.
it's not thin. It's
not
got
thin.
a good. It tastes well made, and it tastes medium.
It has really good weight, and the size of the bubble is really really nice, and it's soft like the mousse.
Yeah, I agree with that. Now, does the palate reflect the nose? Does that pear, apple,
It
brioche?
does, but all of a sudden it kicks in with this tart kind of like
Yes.
tartness.
A nice tartness.
Yeah, that the bubbles play off of. So you're not puckering because of that. In this like very odd way. You think, why aren't you puckering? But also your mouth starts to water a bit. The acid
good.
kicks in.
It's
yeah. I think it's well balanced.
So when we talk about acid, we move into food. What's a good wine pair? What's a good food pairing for this?
I mean, it's sparkling.
So,
French fries.
all right. So we did the French fry thing already. Give me something else.
I mean, for something like this, funny enough, like a salad with some shaved apple, like a light, even like with like a sprinkle of
That's a
blue
good one.
cheese, that would be super good.
It could cut through the cheese. It
cut
could
through the
complement the apple.
Yeah. Like I could see something like that to start as like an app. For an entree, this is something with a little more fat. So even if it's like a fish, maybe like a beurre blanc sauce or something like that, some kind
you
of
pair
sauce.
to the sauce, not just to the fish.
Yeah.
Because you have to fight the sauce.
Right. So
Yeah.
I would do something
It could hold up to that.
I think it could hold up to that.
Those are good ones.
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a really versatile. It's also Nebbiolo. Like, I like a lot of white wines made from red grapes.
Yeah, I think
Like
it's
one of
cool.
my favorite wines from Long Island is coming out of Bridge Lane, and they have a white Merlot that slays every single time.
Bridge
it's
Lane.
white
What's
Merlot.
on the label? It says white Merlot.
It says white Merlot, and
That's
it's
I'm
legit.
gonna post that too. Like I said, I'm gonna post all of Kilolo's wine list answers. I'm gonna post our weekly wine sip and any other wines that she dropped, like that Merlot from Long Island of all places. All right, Kilolo, we've run way over an hour.
Yay! My goal achieved.
I'm couple things. I'm surprised and happy that Liam didn't come in here and rough me up to get me off. The second thing I just realized, and I'm glad that we got this far, that I don't think the air conditioner's on.
It's not.
I'm starting to die here. But thank God it's the end. Right. It's Schwitz time here at Roberta's.
It is real.
At the Heritage Radio studios. All right. So I want to thank our guest, Kilolo Strobert. Kilolo is the proprietor of Fermented Grapes in Brooklyn. I didn't ask you about this, but I want to ask you two things, and then I want to get info where we can get you. So, any plans of putting the platform online?
I have a website, but it's in beta version. So within the next month, you'll see it explode.
And I can order stuff?
Yes. You can order right now just for pickup, but...
So if anyone listened to this show and listened intently, they know that you know your stuff. What about the idea of relying on you for a wine club?
Want to start wine club, but it's either going to be launched in August or September.
That's soon. But so if I listen to this podcast and I go, I like that Kilolo. I want her to pick my wines. By the holidays, I may have a shot to be in a wine club?
Yes.
Okay.
1,000%. And it's going to, the wine club will be, it's going to be oddities.
Well, I hope
the
so.
Hint.
I hope that it's not, just, sending in the check. All right. So the last thing before I ask you for info is we talked about our dear friend, Yannick Benjamin. Yannick started an organization called Wine on Wheels. You are involved with that.
Yep.
Tell me what you're doing with them.
So we're still trying to figure out how to get things back up since...
You mean like a live event, a big fundraiser and all that? Can that happen in 2022 or probably not?
I believe we'll see 2023,
okay. So
which
start
makes more realistic.
So I promise if I'm still around, I will tip people off to that.
You will be around.
No, but I want people to know.
Oh, yeah.
I usually have Yannick on when it leads up to that so we can talk about that. I actually had him on for the opening of Contento. Then the pandemic hit and it opened 2 years later.
So crazy.
Yeah.
So crazy.
So
yeah, it's near and dear to my heart. It's something that I'll always be involved in.
Now I know why with you, Mar, and Yannick and all those guys, who have a relationship.
But also
Yannick is one of the most special people that I've met in this business.
But everyone knows someone that has a disability.
Yes.
It's
But Yannick thinks out of the box. He's like, I want to open a restaurant, and his vision, is inclusive to many, many things. And I give that to him.
Yeah.
He's recognized for that, which he deserves. All right. Lastly, if people want to know about you, where can we find you on social media and the internet? Let's start with the store, Fermented Grapes. Where do I go to get more on that? FermentedBK.com, FermentedBK on Instagram, Kilolo Strobert on Instagram. Okay, those are all good. Those are the three. I'm in the store. So if you want to know, about the store, you go to FermentedBK.com. You can see the selections, a lot of stuff we talked about. If you want to see what Kilolo's doing, you can go to her site. But also, we're on Vanderbilt Avenue. We're by Prospect Park. We're by Brooklyn Museum. We're by Botanical Garden. So what are you saying? Get your ass in there? Yeah. Okay. Come down to 651 Vanderbilt. Yeah. I agree with that, and I encourage that for people to find a local retailer and create a loyalty with them. All right, we got to wrap it up. I want to thank my guest, Kilolo Strobert. I want to thank our engineer, Liam, and everyone at the Heritage Radio Network. I'm Sam Ben-Ruby, and you've been listening to The Grape Nation. The Grape Nation is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network. Food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.